To Kill a Mockingbird Summary and Analysis. To Kill a Mockingbird was written by Harper Lee and published in 1960. It is set in the 1930s during the Great Depression in a small town in Alabama called Maycomb. At that time, America was deeply divided by race. The novel won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1961 and was adapted into an Oscar-winning film in 1962 starring Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch. It quickly became required reading in schools across the US and around the world. In many parts of the country, especially the South, black people were treated unfairly. They were not allowed to use the same schools, buses, restaurants, or even water fountains as white people. They were often blamed for crimes they didn't commit. Even if they were innocent, they rarely got justice in court. The book explores this harsh reality. It shows how deep-rooted racism can destroy lives. But it also shows how one man stands up for what is right even when he knows he may not win. The story takes place in Maycomb, a fictional town in Alabama, based on Harper Lee's own hometown, Monroeville. Summary of To Kill a Mockingbird. The story is set in a small town in Alabama during a time when people didn't treat everyone equally. Black people were often blamed for things they didn't do. They couldn't speak up, and even if they did, no one really listened. Now in the middle of all this, there is a lawyer named Atticus Finch. And one day, he is asked to do something that most people in his town wouldn't dare. He is asked to defend a black man named Tom Robinson. Tom is accused of raping a white girl. This is Maycomb, a place where being black already makes you a guilty in the eyes of most. So when Atticus takes the case, people talk, they stare, they whisper, but Atticus doesn't flinch. He knows Tom is innocent, and he agrees to defend him anyway. The story is told through the eyes of Atticus's younger daughter, Scout. She's smart, tough, and doesn't like wearing dresses. She's always hanging around with her older brother, Jem, and their friend, Dill. The three of them are curious about a man named Boo Redley who lives down the street. Boo never comes out of his house, and they make up wild stories about him. They are kids, they don't know better. But this curiosity about Boo, it runs quietly in the background. The real storm is the trial. The whole town changes when the case begins. Scout starts getting into fights at school because other kids call her father names. Even adults give them strange looks. Jem gets angry. Scout wants to punch everyone, but Atticus tells them to stay calm. He says, "You never really understand a person until you climb into their skin and walk around in it." Now let's get to the court. This is where everything becomes clear. Mayella Owell, the girl who accused Tom, says he attacked her. Her father, Bob Owell, says he saw it happen. But when Atticus begins to ask questions, the truth starts to slip out. Tom's left arm is useless. It was badly injured in an accident years ago. But Mayella's injuries, they were on the right side of her face, which means someone with a strong left hand likely hit her. Atticus points the finger calmly and clearly at Bob Owell. He suggests that Bob beat his own daughter and then blamed Tom Robinson to cover it up. You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. Then Tom takes the stand. He is nervous but respectful. He tells the court that Mayella asked him to help with some chores, like he had done before. Then she tried to kiss him. Tom ran away, scared. And that's it. That was his crime, being kind and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the jury doesn't see kindness. They only see skin color. Despite everything, despite the facts, the logic, the truth, they declare him guilty. Scout and Jem are there, sitting quietly in the balcony with the black folks, watching this unfold. Jem is crushed. He truly believed people would do the right thing. He thought truth would win. But that's not how things work in Maycomb. Later, Tom is killed while trying to escape from prison. They shoot him 17 times. Atticus takes the news hard. Jem cries. Scout doesn't understand it fully, but she knows something is very wrong. And then there's Bob Ewell. He is furious. He thought the trial would make him look like a hero. Instead, Atticus made him look like a liar. So Bob decides to get revenge. He threatens Atticus, spits in his face, tries to scare anyone connected to the case, but he saves the worst for last. One night, after a school event, Scout and Jem are walking home. It's dark. They hear footsteps. Someone is following them. Then Bob Owell attacks. He tries to hurt them. He breaks Jem's arm. Scout can't see much through her costume, but she knows it's bad. And then someone saves them. Out of nowhere, a man steps in and stops Bob. In the fight, Bob is killed. The man who saved them, it's Boo Radley, the same Boo they used to laugh about, the same Boo they feared. Turns out he had been watching them all along, quietly protecting them from a distance. Scout finally meets him. He doesn't say much. He's shy, pale, almost like a ghost, but kind. The sheriff decides not to drag Boo into the public eye. He says Bob Ewell fell on his knife. It's not true, but it's the right thing to do. Boo had done enough. He didn't need to be thanked in the papers. Scout understands. She walks Boo home, and as she stands on his porch, she imagines what the world looks like from where he stands. All those years, Boo had seen them play, grow, and hurt. He had been part of their lives, even if they didn't know it. Scout says, "He was real nice." Atticus replies, "Most people are, Scout, when you finally see them." And that's the heart of the story. It's not just about a trial, it's about learning to look at people differently, about seeing what lies under the surface. Scout starts the story thinking in black and white, she ends it seeing shades of grey. It's about how a quiet man can become a hero, how a child can see the truth more clearly than adults, and how doing the right thing doesn't always win, but it's still worth doing. That's To Kill a Mockingbird. And once you have read it, you won't forget it. Main characters of To Kill a Mockingbird. Scout Finch. Scout is the main character and narrator. She is young, curious, and often questions the world around her. She loves to wear pants instead of dresses and doesn't like being told to act like a lady. Scout is brave and learns a lot about justice, fairness, and growing up. Jem Finch. Jem is Scout's older brother. He starts out playful and mischievous but becomes more serious as he gets older. He wants to understand why people act the way they do. The trial deeply affects him. He learns that the world can be cruel even when you do the right thing. Atticus Finch. Atticus is the father of Scout and Jem. He is a lawyer and a man of strong moral values. He believes in justice and treats everyone with respect. He teaches his children important lessons about empathy, courage, and standing up for what is right. Tom Robinson. Tom is a black man who is wrongly accused of raping a white woman. He is kind and hardworking. Even though he tells the truth in court, he is still punished because of his skin color. His death shows how deeply unfair the system is. Bob Ewell. Bob is Mayala's father. He is mean, racist, and abusive. He lies in court and is the real villain in the story. After the trial, he tries to take revenge on Atticus by going after his children. Boo Radley. Boo is a quiet man who never leaves his house. People say strange things about him, but he turns out to be kind and gentle. He saves Scout and Jem. He teaches Scout that people are not always what they seem. Some questions that you may have about To Kill a Mockingbird. Why is the book called To Kill a Mockingbird? Atticus tells his children that it's a sin to kill a mockingbird because all they do is sing and bring joy. The mockingbird represents innocent people who are hurt for no reason. Tom Robinson and Boo Radley are like mockingbirds, gentle and harmless, but still judged unfairly. To what extent can Atticus Finch be considered a moral hero, and where do his actions reveal the limitations of his time? Atticus is often seen as a moral hero because he defends Tom Robinson with honesty and courage, even when the town is against him. He teaches empathy, respect, and justice. But some readers argue that he is also a product of his time. He defends a black man but still believes in maintaining social peace rather than challenging the racist systems directly. So he is both a man of strong principles but limited by the time he lives in. How does To Kill a Mockingbird portray the complexities of class and social status within the white community beyond issues of race? The book doesn't only talk about race, it also explores class. Mayala Ewell is white, but her family is poor and looked down upon. The Cunninghams are poor farmers but have pride. The Finches are more educated and respected. These layers show how society isn't divided by race alone, but also by money, manners, and education. Even within the white community, there is a rigid pecking order that affects how people are treated. Is Scout a reliable narrator? How does her perspective affect the story? Scout is both reliable and limited. She is looking back on her childhood with the wisdom of an adult, but most of the events are told from her younger point of view. That mix adds depth. We get a child's honesty, which often cuts through adult hypocrisy, but we also miss some layers she doesn't fully grasp. Her innocence helps highlight the injustice around her, even when she doesn't have the words for it. Here are a few specific things Scout doesn't fully grasp due to her age and innocence. The depth of racial injustice. She sees that Tom Robinson is innocent and that Atticus is right, but she doesn't yet understand how deeply racism is woven into the legal and social systems. She is shocked by the verdict, but she can't fully explain why people would still vote guilty. Mayella Ewell's situation. Scout doesn't recognize the complexity of Mayella's life. She sees her as simply the accuser, but an older reader can see that Mayella is also a victim of poverty, isolation, and her father's abuse. Atticus's quiet resistance. Scout admires Atticus, but doesn't always realize the quiet courage behind his actions. For example, when he sits outside the jail to protect Tom, she sees it as odd rather than heroic. The meaning of Boo Radley. For much of the book, Boo is just a mystery to her. It's only in the final pages, when she stands on his porch, that she begins to understand what he represents: misunderstood kindness and the idea of seeing the world through someone else's eyes. So while Scout tells the story as she sees it, her younger age means she sometimes misses the emotional and social weight behind people's actions. And that's what gives the book its power. We as readers often see more than she does. Why is Boo Radley important to the larger themes of the book? Boo Radley represents the idea of misunderstood kindness. People judge him based on gossip and fear, but in the end, he turns out to be gentle and protective. He mirrors the idea of the Mockingbird, someone who never harms others but still suffers because of society's prejudice. His quiet presence contrasts with the loud injustice of the trial, showing that heroism can be silent too. Does the book offer any hope for change, or is it ultimately pessimistic? It's not cheerful, but it isn't hopeless either. Tom Robinson's story ends in tragedy, and racism clearly wins in the courtroom. But there are small signs of progress. Atticus's quiet resistance, the children's growing awareness, and even a few townspeople who show support in subtle ways. The book doesn't promise fast change, but it suggests that change begins with understanding, and that's something Scout starts to learn. With this ends the summary and analysis of To Kill a Mockingbird. I hope you enjoyed listening. If yes, please like the video and subscribe to my channel so that you get a notification when I upload the next video.